So, yes, this was a pre-cooked lobster. Yes, it was frozen, but that doesn't matter for the result. I'm gonna show you how to make a bouillabaisse, and it's gonna be a sauce for a salmon dish that I wanted to try. But you can also use this for pasta. So let's start cooking. So like I said, we're gonna make it out of the lobster, and this lobster is pre-cooked. So just take out all the meat. So cut the tail in half, cut out the tail, take the meat out from the claws, and just roast the shell or the outer scales on 190 degrees Celsius or 375 Fahrenheit for about an hour with a little bit of oil in the oven until it gets a nice deep dark color. So while that is going, I will start chopping up onions, some garlic, and some carrot. I use that for a lot of bases, I know, but it is sort of a foundation for me. It works really well, and I don't chop it off too small. I just chop it off roughly because it's a sauce, and I will be cooking this for longer over time, so the flavors will get extracted to it. Put it in a big pot with some oil, and I roast it until it gets a nice light brownish color, maybe a little bit dark, that it has some good roasting to it. You can, if you want, you can put it in the oven as well. I just find it easier to be in the pot. So the tomato puree got desoured, and you fry it for about 1-2 minutes. You can add all the liquids. Now I use a dry white wine, Sauvignon Blanc in this case, non-alcoholic or alcoholic, it really doesn't matter. Just add about 500 milliliters or 1 liter, that's up to you, to it. And then add also about 1 or 2 liter, depending on how much wine you added, but that the entire pot is full until the ring, because we're going to reduce it and we're going to slow it down until it's like 50-60% liquid left, which can take about an hour, half an hour, depending on how much you actually are making at the moment and how fast it's reducing. Now the next part is maybe a little bit tricky, but I strain it 2 times. The first one is just to strain and get all the bits and pieces out, so it doesn't need to be precise. The second time, I'm straining it through a cheesecloth. And why is that? That's because all the fat and the things, like of the tomato puree and all the butterness, stays behind there as well. So you have a nice clear broth, stock bouillon with all the intensified flavors. And once that is done, we put it back to a pot, and we will continue with the next step to intensify all the delicious flavor that it has. Now as you can see, the bouillon is not that much, it's still a little bit watery. So what we're gonna do is we add again about 1.5 liters, that the pot is completely full again, and then we reduce that. Now it seems maybe a little bit silly to do that because the flavor is already there, but it will, if you make it less, and then because of reducing you can control the thickness and the intensity of the flavor that you want. And I reduce it about that I have 1 liter left, and basically it's ready to serve now, at least when it comes to the sauce. Now, if you came this far, please hit that like button or subscribe to the channel. I would be very happy if you did. There will be a lot more videos coming like this. But for now, let's continue, because I will show you what I actually did with it. It is a salmon I brined and basically kind of poached it. But why I'm still dark. Let's continue with the footage. So what I did with it, with the salmon, is like I brined it with 2% salt. So that is 1 liter of salt, and then you add about 20 grams of salt. You dissolve it, let it cool down, and then you clean your pieces of salmon, cut it into pieces that you want. And I had about 180 grams pieces. So what I did was I brined it for 30 minutes in that water, strained it, then throw away the brine water, and then have the salmon swim for about 30 minutes again in this other water to rinse off all the brining salt flavorness. And why is that? Otherwise my salmon gets too salt, and I just give it a little bit of flavor, some pepper. If no salt was needed, and I put it in a small vacuum bag with a little bit of oil. Now what I do here is just I boil some water and I let those bags swim in it for about 20 minutes, so that you have like a poached salmon effect, which is really sweet and really went well with this dish.